Hello, my name is Zachary, and I'll be covering the lessons learned for the containment, eradication, and recovery of the ransomware attack against Australia during the Five Eyes Summit. We were first notified about the event from a human resources employee who received a pop-up window from this ransomware attack. They also reported that they observed a ransomware icon downloaded on their desktop and that five of their files, were encrypted and unreadable. So the first priority for our security team is to contain the ransomware attack from spreading against the network. Then the second priority is to decrypt the files that were locked on the network. We have to discover where the origin is of the ransomware attack, which we discovered came from a downloaded email attachment from the human resources employee. The attachment was disguised as an invoice, but was suspiciously named. We used Wireshark to determine the URL location using the HTTP filter function of Wireshark. Once we filtered the results, we discovered the attack script text document, and we redirected to the parent folder, which took us to other supporting documents for the ransomware attack. A file of interest was the info.txt document, which contained additional information about the ransomware attack, but it was encrypted. So we used offcrack decryption function to decrypt the info.txt document. It was very useful, and it gave us the decryption key, which we used later on for the JPEG image, which looked benign, but it contained the unlocker executable file that we needed. We used the same decryption password using the program Our Secret, and once we ran the executable file, we were able to decrypt and unlock the files taken for ransom. Once we unlocked the files, we had to clean up the computer and ensure that there were no traces of the ransomware left on the network.
All right, good evening. My name is William Ward. I'm the digital forensics expert for Fair Dinkum. I'll be giving you this portion of the presentation today, which is some of the failed security controls that we've identified as a result of a recent ransomware attack. My colleague Zach has discussed some of the steps that we took during the recovery process. My focus is going to be on some of the steps that could and should have been taken prior to the attack occurring. I'm going to hit three things pretty hard, and I'm going to touch on a fourth. The first off is going to be training, second admin accounts, third antivirus software, and fourth IDS IPS. So here we go. Training. Training is continuous. The landscape that everyone's in nowadays, attacks occur hundreds and thousands of times a day. I don't know the exact figures right offhand, but I know that one of the articles that I've recently read said that there's over 500,000 cyber attacks that occur on a daily basis, and even though not all of them are able to get into the systems. There's no reason that an employee of Fair Dinkum or any other organization is opening suspect emails, especially those emails that they themselves has identified as possibly suspect. So I'm going to recommend that training occur on a more regular basis, possibly quarterly, and that training encompass all aspects of spear phishing, phishing, spam, ransomware, etc., to help these employees understand the importance of what they're doing and how vulnerable that they're making the system. Which is going to take us to admin accounts. There's no reason that a normal employee for Fair Dinkum should have the capability of opening an email and running an executable on our system. The only people that should be running executables in our network should be administrators. So we're going to sit there and we're going to have to take into account at the next meeting whether or not we're going to allow employees to continue to have the capability to run executables, or if we're going to make it solely the responsibility of admin accounts. Third, antivirus software. I don't know how in the world that our antivirus did not catch the signature of this ransomware attack, especially because of the fact that it was obviously the work of someone that downloaded some stuff from a script kiddie and put on our system, since they put most of the information in the system needed to recover it anyways. So we're going to have to beef up our antivirus software and make sure that all the updates that we should have in there are in there in order to improve the effectiveness of this software in the future. Lastly, IDS IPS. Our IDS system should be capable of identifying malicious software no matter who has the capability of opening it or viewing it. Once it's in our network, we should be able to see it prior to the malicious act occurring. We should see it sitting there waiting to be opened. So obviously our IDS and our IPS systems are going to have to be revamped a little bit. We're going to try to avoid getting a lot of false positives, but in any case, we need to avoid these type of occurrences from happening in the future. That's it for me today. I'm going to be passing it on to Tara, and she will be giving you her next brief on security awareness and program improvement. Thank you.
Okay, so next up on the agenda is the primary goals of the Security Awareness Program. This is going to preserve, improve, and account for DTL Power's information systems. It's also going to enforce security measures from a variety of threats such as error, ransomware, sabotage, industrial espionage, privacy violation, and natural disasters. So first, we are going to discuss password and user consideration. The initial password is going to be issued by a user administrator, and this is only valid for users' first online session. At that time, the user is going to be forced to choose another password, and the password has to be and fit all the criteria listed in the PowerPoint, which we'll provide them in documentation when they're first hired. The next goal is going to be internet access. We need to let employees know that internet access is for business purposes only. All our forms are going to outline the policy, and it's going to be reviewed and signed by the associate. So this is going to include, and they're going to sign off on internet browsing, internet email access, and it's also going to require management justification and approval. So if they need more internet access than they already do, then they need to get with their manager and ask for it prior to them just doing whatever they want. Also, everything monitoring is going to be performed throughout the organization, as well as filtering. So this is going to include restrictions on IP addresses and foreign websites, which is all going to be held by the information security team. Any of these forms, too, can be provided through the help desk. Just by putting in a ticket in, you can get policies and request procedures. And now we're going to talk about newly hired associates. So like I said before, they're going to have to acknowledge, agree, acceptable use of computing systems. And it has to be signed off for them to be permitted onto DTL Power systems. So once they sign off, they'll be able to have access to corporate systems, data, and applications. And it's only granted to them as needed based upon their job requirements or a need-to-know basis. So any access to additional resources or applications is also going to have to be provided once management approval is signed off on it. So a help desk ticket will have to be put in for that request. So next up for enhancing the security awareness program is copying, transferring, or disclosing software. We need to let users know that it's completely prohibited. So users can't copy software that's provided by DTL Power to any storage media, or transfer such software to another computer, or disclose software to outside parties without written permission from information security management. Next is the protection of the information. So information can't be sent through portable storage media using public carrier services unless approved data encryption method has been invoked on that information. So we need to think about the CIA or the triad, security triad. So confidentiality, integrity, and availability is what we need to inform employees of once they're hired. Also next is the expectation of privacy. So at any time without prior notice, management reserves the right to look through any user's email, personal file directories, and other information stored on corporate computers. So this includes USB drives, CDs, DVDs, and other mobile devices. This examination is going to assure compliance with internal policies, and it's going to support the performance of internal investigations and assist with the management of corporate information systems. So employees are going to know this once they sign off and acknowledge what I talked about before in the earlier slide. Once they're hired, they're going to have to acknowledge this, and they're completely aware the entire time that this could possibly happen. Next is resource usage. So management will grant access to workstation mobile devices based on a need to know for business purposes only. Also, all media is going to have to be scanned by corporate antivirus software prior to copying information onto a machine or a network drive. And this is all going to be conducted by the Information Security Management team with support of information technology.
Operating systems are a complex part of the software. Hardening the operating system is the act of configuring an operating system securely, updating the operating system, forming rules and policies to help govern the system in a secure manner, and eliminating applications and services that are not necessary. Hardening of the operating system helps minimize the operating system's exposure to threats and decrease possible risk and secure the system. Hardening the operating system is something that should continuously be followed on with constant maintenance. There are weekly updates and monthly patches that could be done. There could also be updates that come up without warning, and all the updates and patches need to be applied to the system to maintain the security of the operating system. Staying up to date on the latest patches will help secure the operating system from different perspectives. While different operating systems have their particulars, some suggested practices apply to all. The risk of cyber attacks can be minimized when following these best practice protocols. Some of these best practices are programs cleanup, removing unnecessary programs, since some programs can be the potential entry point for cyber criminals. Removing them could help minimize the number of ways cyber criminals can get in the system. Use of service packs. No one specific thing confirms security, especially from zero-day attacks. Keeping up to date and installing the latest versions of updates can minimize attacks. Patches and patch management. Planning, testing, implementing, and auditing patch management software should be part of security routine. The operating system should regularly be patched. Group policies. Avoid user errors. Specify what groups can and cannot access and follow the rules. Security template. Groups of policies that can be loaded in one procedure. Configuration baseline. Establish baselines and measure on a schedule that is acceptable to the standard of maintaining security and meeting clients' needs.
Hello, my topic today is on managing patch and operating system security against known threats. I'll start by defining patch and patch management. A patch is a set of changes to a computer program. It's designed to update, fix, and improve the program. This includes fixing security vulnerabilities, improving the usability and performance. Even though it's meant to fix problems, if not designed carefully, it can sometimes introduce new problems. For example, if the update provider is no longer licensed, updates may break the functionality of the program. Patch management is an area of system management that involves acquiring, testing, and installing multiple patches or code changes to a computer system. A patch management task includes maintaining current knowledge of available patches, deciding what patches are appropriate for a particular system, ensuring that patches are installed properly, testing systems after installation, and documenting all associated procedures such as specific configuration that are required. Next, I'll talk about the 6 steps for security patch management best practice. The 6 steps can be used as a general step since patch management is a complex process and also depends on organization's infrastructure, requirements, and overall security posture. The first step is to develop an up-to-date drive up-to-date inventory for all production systems, including operating system types and versions. It's also important to inventory the network periodically. The second step is to devise a plan for standardizing production system to the same version of operating system and application software. Having smaller number of operating system could make the job easier for later. Step 3 is to make a list of all security controls you have in place, such as routers, firewalls, and IDSs. Step 4 is to compare reported vulnerabilities against the inventory or control list. There are 2 key components here. The first one is to have a reliable system for collecting vulnerability alerts, and second is to separate the vulnerabilities that affect the system from those that don't. And the fifth step would be classify the risk. This is done by assessing the vulnerabilities and likelihood of an attack in the environment. And the sixth and the last step would be to apply the patch. The hardest part here is deploying it without disrupting the production. So it's important to evaluate the tools that can be used for the patch process, and this will depend on how well it fits the environment and the budget.